Every day, from the moment we wake, we make countless choices: what to wear, what to eat, what to say, what to do. We feel a profound sense of agency, a belief that we are the authors of our own destiny, freely choosing our path. But what if that feeling, that deep, intuitive sense of free will, is merely an illusion? What if our decisions are not truly our own, but the inevitable outcome of forces beyond our control, a complex program running in our brains? This isn't a casual musing. It's one of philosophy's oldest and most persistent questions, now amplified by modern science. As neuroscience probes the brain and psychology reveals hidden biases, the idea that we are truly free agents faces its greatest challenge yet. This video will delve into the illusion of choice. We'll explore the ancient philosophical debates, confront the startling revelations of modern science, and ultimately ask the most unsettling question: is free will real, or are we just programmed? The question of free will versus determinism has been a cornerstone of philosophical inquiry for millennia. Determinism is the belief that all events, including human actions and choices, are ultimately determined by causes external to the will. Every effect has a cause, leading back in an unbroken chain. If we knew all the prior conditions, we could, in theory, predict every future event. Indeterminism is the belief that at least some events are not wholly determined by prior causes. This opens the door for genuine choice. Libertarianisme philosophical advocates for a strong form of free will, arguing that humans can choose otherwise, even given the same prior conditions. They believe our choices originate from us, not external causes. Ancient Greek philosophers grappled with fate versus choice. The Stoics, for instance, believed in a deterministic universe governed by a divine logos or reason. Yet, they also emphasized human responsibility and the freedom to assent to one's fate. Our freedom lies in our internal response to external events, which are predetermined. We cannot control what happens, but we can control our judgment and attitude towards it. Aristotle and moral responsibility. While exploring causality, Aristotle also deeply emphasized moral responsibility. For him, voluntary actions, those chosen through deliberation, were the basis for praise and blame, suggesting a form of freedom within human choice. If we praise people for good choices and blame them for bad ones, it implies they could have chosen differently. The rise of Abrahamic religions introduced the idea of an omniscient God who knows all future events, including our choices. This sparked intense theological debates. If God already knows what I will do, am I truly free to choose otherwise? This theological determinism added another layer of complexity to the free will problem. These ancient debates set the stage for our modern crisis, where science now enters the arena, seemingly armed with new evidence. The greatest modern challenge to free will comes from neuroscience and psychology. Scientific experiments suggest that our brains may decide before we are even consciously aware of our choices. Libet's experiment and others in the 1980s. Psychologist Benjamin Libet conducted experiments showing that brain activity, the readiness potential associated with an action, began hundreds of milliseconds before subjects reported a conscious intention to act. This suggests our subjective feeling of making a decision might come after the brain has already initiated the action. N. Robilim fibilin L. kararlar morisen förmar, have shown that a decision to press a button can be predicted from brain activity up to 10 seconds before conscious awareness. This indicates that complex unconscious brain processes might precede and determine our conscious choices. Genetic vägkevrasuletkila, our genetic makeup, upbringing, cultural environment, past experiences, and even hormonal balances profoundly influence our desires, preferences, and behaviors. Are we truly choosing, or are we merely acting out the program of our biology and environment? Nietzsche quoted on the illusion of free will responsibility. The doctrine of free will was invented essentially for the purpose of punishment, that is, of finding guilty. Nietzsche, a sharp critic of traditional morality, viewed free will as a convenient construct to assign blame and enforce social order rather than an inherent truth. He would argue that our actions are deeply rooted in our physiology and drives. If our choices are the inevitable result of prior neural activity, and that neural activity is influenced by our genes, environment, and history, then where is the free part of free will? This scientific determinism seems to leave little room for genuine agency, leading to an unsettling conclusion. Perhaps we are indeed just programmed. Faced with the seemingly irreconcilable conflict between determinism and free will, many philosophers adopt a position called compatibilism. This view argues that free will and determinism are not mutually exclusive. They can coexist. Compatibilists suggest that freedom isn't about being uncaused, but about acting without coercion or external constraint. If your actions are a result of your own desires, preferences, and deliberations, even if those desires and deliberations are themselves caused, then you are acting freely. You are not forced by someone else or bound by external chains. Hume and freedom of action. David Hume, an influential compatibilist, defined freedom as the power to act or not to act according to the determinations of the will. If your will determines your action and nothing external prevents that action, then you are free. Frankfurt and hierarchical desires. Modern compatibilists like Harry Frankfurt distinguish between first-order desires, for example, desiring a piece of cake, and second-order desires, for example, desiring to want to eat healthy. True freedom, Frank, lies in having second-order volitions, the ability to reflect on and align our actions with the desires we wish to have. Even if these desires are ultimately caused, the capacity for self-reflection and alignment grants a meaningful form of freedom. This perspective attempts to preserve moral responsibility. If you act according to your own even, if caused will, you can still be held accountable. Your actions reflect who you are and what you value, making praise and blame meaningful. Nietzsche quote, "On overcoming oneself within one's nature, man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him?" This can be reinterpreted in a compatibilist light. Even if our initial drives are determined, the will to power allows us to actively work on and shape our character, and values thus overcoming our default programming to become a higher self. This is a form of freedom within determinism. Compatibilism offers a middle ground, allowing us to acknowledge the scientific evidence for causality while retaining a meaningful sense of human agency and moral responsibility. It shifts the question from are we uncaused to are we self-directed. Regardless of whether you lean towards strict determinism or compatibilism, Confronting the illusion of choice forces a profound shift in perspective. It encourages us to live with a healthy ambiguity, acknowledging both the power of external forces and our internal capacity for self-shaping. Cultivate radical self-awareness. Understand the hidden forces that shape your decisions, your biases, your habits, your emotional triggers, your genetic predispositions. The more aware you are of your programming, the more consciously you can respond rather than merely react. Practice intentionality and deliberation, even if your choices are ultimately caused. The act of deliberating and intending to act in a certain way is a powerful form of self-direction. Make conscious choices, rather than letting life happen to you. Embrace responsibility, even without absolute freedom. Whether free will is an illusion or not, the experience of living demands responsibility. Our actions have consequences for ourselves and for others. Taking ownership, even of determined actions, is crucial for growth and building ethical relationships. Nietzsche quote it. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Not merely to bear what is necessary, still less to conceal it, but to love it. This ultimate acceptance allows for a profound sense of agency and purpose, even if all is predetermined. Focus on becoming Nietzschean self-creation, the journey of becoming who you are, of forging your own values, is a continuous act of self-creation, regardless of the ultimate nature of free will. It's in the striving, the overcoming, that our deepest sense of purpose and meaning lies. The illusion of choice is not meant to paralyze you with doubt, but to liberate you through deeper understanding. It calls for an epical mind that can hold the tension of profound philosophical questions, embracing the ambiguity of existence without succumbing to despair. The ultimate act of reclaiming your agency in a seemingly programmed world might not be to prove absolute free will, but to consciously direct your will to power toward self-overcoming, to cultivate values that you would proudly affirm for an eternity, and to take full responsibility for the life you live. So, as you make your choices today, what underlying forces might be influencing your decisions? How can you inject more intentionality and deliberation into your actions? Regardless of whether free will is an illusion, what choices will you make today that empower you, affirm life, and contribute to your becoming? Are you ready to live with the profound ambiguity of choice, yet embrace your role as the architect of your own character? The power to choose, to shape your destiny, to become the author of your own life, even within the confines of existence, lies within your conscious engagement. It is time to awaken that power, to confront the illusion, and to make your choices truly yours.